very low barrier to get into the Gronk Squad.
That's crazy!
We've committed to do the Daily Talk Show for 10 years.
Hi guys.
Hi guys.
Put it in the calendar.
That one in.
I just like to check the temperature in the room.
I told you my squeegee story.
It is outrageous.
Come on, let's go.
It's the Daily Talk Show, episode 951.
Welcome for your hump day.
Thank you for having me, Tommy Jackett.
Thanks for joining me, Josh Janssen.
Mm-hmm.
Today we're going to cover...
We actually got a lovely email.
Oh, did we?
Hey guys, just listening to episode 950. That was yesterday.
I thought it was Bodie. Hey guys.
As he is in the intro.
Yeah.
It's hard to say where the line of reinvention should be drawn. But I definitely forced myself to make some radical changes in my thinking in the past 6 months or so. This comes from Sean, Gronk Sean, by the way.
Yeah, and yesterday we were talking about how if you've sort of had your thinking turned upside down.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I'm doing a PhD at the moment, and right as stage 4 Melbourne lockdown hit last year, nothing was going right with the PhD, and I took 6 weeks off from it all, effectively unpaid leave. I ended up stumbling across morning pages and stoicism and started reading some books on stoicism and listening to Ryan Holiday and his podcast. I also came across Matt D'Avella on YouTube and really got into that. And that's how I found out about you guys. Listening to Tommy on Matt's podcast talking about Sam Harris got me onto the Waking Up app as well.
Oh, fuck yeah. I thought I did such a bad job on that episode. I've really beat myself up internally about that. But obviously I helped somebody.
And I've been doing those meditations every day since.
Fuck yes.
Yesterday was a bit of a shocker with getting caught up in work-related thoughts and doubts. And I was fleshing that out in my morning pages this morning and how mindfulness is such a great circuit breaker for that. Then I listened to the podcast on the way into work, and you guys are talking about just that. What are the odds? In any case, I'm still doing my PhD, but I definitely feel a sense of reinvention around my mental health and my general approach to life as a result of taking that time off. Thanks for all that you guys do. Keep it up. Cheers, Sean.
Oh, that's nice. Thanks, Sean. Where's Sean in Melbourne?
Yeah.
I said when stage 4 hit in Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's cool. The Crystal Andrews, she also wrote through on our Instagram around the conversation about purpose, and I kind of touched on in a very non-eloquent way about how purpose is something is thinking. We're thinking about.
It's a human construct, I think was what you were saying, wasn't it?
Yeah, kind of. I didn't say it like that, but it's like purpose is something that we just like intellectualize and then believe and then we just like embody, but they can change. And so therefore it's not like some kind of, I don't think there's anything much woo-woo about purpose. It's something that we don't understand. And Crystal Andrews was pointing out that it is a construct. Like we have any term, any phrase humans have developed is something that is just being created for us to think about. Career, that's not a thing beyond a word and then what meaning we give it. So it is funny. It is funny.
What was it about the episode with D'Avella that you sort of didn't like?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, we're so used to just talking shit and not needing to be experts, or we're just a couple of guys having a conversation about stuff that we like and stuff that we're interested in, and even like touching on stuff we have no idea about, but it helps us grow our understanding of that subject, right? So it's like funneling about, is a version of learning as you're going, and that's what the show is. And so, I don't know, maybe there's just a pressure. I was thinking about, we spoke a lot about meditation. I think about when that was and where I'm at now. And so it is, I think...
Well, you're in line now.
Man, I haven't walked. I've been floating around. I don't drive to work. I fly to work.
But do you think that's what makes it relatable?
Yeah.
And I don't think that you come from a place of, I'm an expert.
Definitely try not to.
You're sharing.
But I am. No, I feel there's so much pressure if you are coming from the expert vibe, or you're just a Gronk trying to figure it out. But anything that I do, it is, it almost the equation should be where you are now, looking back on what you were doing 6 months ago. I mean, that cringe is not a bad thing because you're like, it's either an evolution. If you're looking back saying, fuck, I've regressed. That's a different thought.
Yeah. What do you cringe at? Like, what is this specifics?
I don't know. I actually, no, I think it may be just criticism of myself and my own performance. And I think, you are your worst critic, but
I think I talked about morning routine.
Yeah. Well, he wanted to sort of have it in a focused area that he was interested in, that you could talk to. And he knew that you could talk to it because he's interested in what you have to say about it. Yeah. So, which is a different vibe just for us. I mean, I've only been on a handful of podcasts that aren't ours, and it is always a different vibe.
And there's also, I think there's a time where you're doing a big download of a new idea. So, for instance, Sean just getting into stoicism in the last year, I find that you go through a thing of all Ryan holiday, all of that sort of stuff. Like you go through these sort of downloads where you learn all of this stuff, and then you sort of like everyone sort of moves on to a different version of that. I think about minimalism. Once you have cleared everything out and you're doing like you don't need to spend every day thinking about it. You have your practices, like your morning pages. That's something that would always stay, but it's almost, you don't like it. You are then living that thing. So you don't need to just be consuming that content. You've sort of done the download.
Yeah. It's like people who work in the self-help space. I go through times where I'm into somebody and then it's not that I'm not into them. It's just that what they're saying, their message isn't resonating the way it did because there's a new version that I'm seeking out. And so there's nothing better than reading something for the first time or watching a movie and you're like, fuck, this is exactly like what Sean's saying. It's hitting at every level and you're just like, and then you find that there is a new version that will hit.
Cal Newport did that for me like 2 or 3 years ago in a massive way, like the whole deep work stuff. That was when I got off social media and it's, but the interesting thing now is there are amazing YouTubers that have taken all of these thoughts that are in books and made them into an entertaining thing that you can just sort of passively watch at home. So like the barrier to entry is so much nicer now.
Oh yeah. And then there's the reality for these people that there are audiences that are coming and going. I mean, it's for our show. We took a break over the summer here in Australia, and it was like 4 weeks of not doing the show from coming from 2.5 years, almost 3 years of every single day releasing a show. And I probably talked less in that month than I have in the last 3 years. And there's everything. It's no different. You come back, you're like, you forget what you've done. You're like 900 episodes. We even had that conversation. You're like, I'm like, it's almost like us trying to rev each other up. It's like, mate, but we've done 900. It's like trying to give yourself a bit of a fucking kick up the ass, because what happens is you start thinking, we're no good. Not that you think you're really good. There comes a level of comfort in knowing that you can do the thing once the mic comes on, which I feel I have had for many years based on the radio stuff. And but it's not like my mind doesn't actually think that. My mind is more inclined to think that I'm not capable. Like, and maybe it's the heavier emotion out of the I'm capable and not capable. The negative has more of a
it's a protective mechanism as well, I think.
Yeah.
Because then that creates the sort of the momentum. I think that's what the show did. Like by us doing so many days in a row, we built a momentum or a muscle that's always there, which you have gained through the gym. So you can, what you're capable of, so you can get straight back into it. Whereas if you've never fully committed, if you've never really done it, if the only reference point that you have is doing and then failing, that's a lot harder.
Or sticking, or trying, giving up. Like but it doesn't have to be that way. The gym analogy is great because it's the 100 kilogram bench press, Josh Janssen, mate. The
Is that
thought. Well, I mean, it's more than my body weight. Most people couldn't bench press their body weight.
Okay.
And it takes years to get to a base level of strength to be able to push 2 plates, 100 kegs,
have you done it?
20 pounds. Yeah. I've done like 110. But getting
year?
up to that, not this year,
Okay.
no. But in my mind, I fucking done it.
Yeah.
I reckon I could do one right now.
Yeah.
I could rip a pec because I'm not conditioned to. But getting from 88 kilograms, 90, 92, 95, like the barrier in my mind of 100, 220 pounds was fucking huge. But now I'm like, I've done it, which is your
That's
point.
the same
of
thing
like,
with to be honest, the Grampians. Me not dying. No, seriously. When I thought that I was going to die and I didn't die, and thinking about the lack of fitness that I had, like that was the first big walk we'd done in a while. I think I could give that another go.
You definitely could. I've said we should go do it. Did I tell you my mum had a similar thing?
Oh, no.
I think maybe at the
really?
Grand. Yeah. I'll get her to tell you the story. I can't remember, but it is. It's like everyone's so hard on themselves. If you're not hard on yourself ever, who are you?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, the other thing too is changing your mind. So, for instance, Sean with his PhD, it's so easy to be like, you've told all your friends and your family you're doing the PhD, and it's like you've probably amped it. Like it's probably, I would feel it would be a stretch just doing it, right? So committing to it. And so what do we do when we're committing to it? We have to convince ourselves. And so the convincing ourselves looks like, yeah, this is going to be great. This is going to be, this is the way, this is what I need to do. This is going to give me so many opportunities. And then things change. And the hardest bit is changing your mind, I think. But I think there's a lot of people that are doing things in life because they're worried about changing their mind, because they think that by changing their mind, they're somehow flaky or unreliable, or when the reality is, if you created a strategy of where you wanted to be at the start of last year, and then that strategy changes, things change. Life change. Like you've got to make moves. It'd be crazy to think the decisions that I made a year and a bit ago, I have to stay with them because that's a decision. Where it's like, if you were navigating on a road, you worked out the map based on what you knew, and then you realize when you got to the road that it's on the side of a crazy cliff and there's one road in that's way safer. You're not going to say, well, I fucking did the map here, so I've got to commit to it. You just go the other road. And that's like the beauty of like not being stationary. Like you're moving along, you're finding, you're getting new context.
Or you've just upgraded your GPS map and there's a better route. When I was I did Route 66 and had a Mustang convertible. Me and Fitzy hired a GPS. This was back in the day. Your phone wasn't good enough.
$10 a day for the GPS.
Yeah. I heard the hack was blow up at the end and say it wasn't working and you get a discount.
Oh, that's a good one.
I did it. I don't think it worked. No, I don't think it worked. But this thing took us this off road, and it's like going over a fucking train track in the desert. Just like, where the fuck are we going? I think we should turn back. This thing's cooked. So technically I told them that story. I may have got like a day discounted, but it is like, then the paradox of that is like, how do you, is the changing direction or changing your mind a pattern in what you've done previously, which is a hard one because it's so unique. It's like, am I the guy that has started and stopped, and then...
But isn't that part of the, like, that can be part of the journey as well? Like,
I think it has to be part of the journey. So if that is the realization, but what I'm saying is I don't have the answer, because it's like, I've done the start and stop my whole life. I think everyone has a version of that. But then it's like, when is resilience needed? When is perseverance required? So for a business, let's say our business, the friction of fucking the years and 2 years, 3 years, and then it's like easily could give up easily. And so, and you and I have had those conversations about like, I would have fucking thrown in the towel years ago. But But then, and so I don't know why. And this is the thing about
Well, you have
thought.
a framework, maybe. Like maybe you've got like a certain. So look at like relationships. I think are like this. It's when you're in a long-term relationship. If little things happen, you've taken off the table that this is going to be the catalyst for breaking up, right? And so when you do that, that becomes the thing to like work. Like I guess that's the whole like marriage, long-term relationships. Like that's the working at it type of thing. So it's like, okay, what is the consistency, and then what are the changes within that that you could be making?
But then what about the interpretation of the struggle? Is thought. It is how you dealing with your thoughts. So what is what's your strategy for interpreting the emotion that something's causing you, which is on Sean's practice of meditation, what I do with the app, it is like Sam says always, it's like, how do you dial back the intensity? 30% from whatever you're feeling. Because all it is reaction thought happening. And then it's like, that could be what changes and makes all the difference in starting and stopping.
How do you avoid the temptation to tell people how to live their life?
I mean, I've created a business around it. No.
So think about like the meditation stuff that's working really well for you. But there's heaps of examples like that. You've got you've a mate that starts Bikram yoga. Changes their life. They become a yoga teacher.
Bikram's probably a bad one because the guy was a fucking nutter.
No. But a great
Next
practice.
minute in the
apparently.
cult, Bikram.
It's
no, you're right. Great practice.
Great practice. So if you have that though, if you are, because that's my thing, right? Like at the beginning, I think maybe it's the start of the journey. So when you are at the start of something, you just see, if you're making a big change, all that you see is the broken bits. Because the broken bits help you make the change. So for instance, when you're leaving a job to go freelance or whatever, the month before you leave, my boss is a fucking idiot. The people around me are fucking idiots. Why did I wait so long? Right. But then that's a coping mechanism to be able to then be like, look at it from a different perspective. And I feel like that's like with, I remember when I did, went veggie for a month, I would see meat on Instagram, like, yuck.
Yeah.
But that's the
coping mechanism.
That's the coping mechanism. Well, not even the coping mechanism. That's like the mind shifting. And so then that's why I think that when I think about how quickly I can change with stuff, then I give it, I have empathy for other people around. Of course you're going to think that way.
Yeah, I think there's for anyone who's doing things for years, there's probably a version where it does dial down in terms of how much they're spruiking and willing to tell people this is what's going to change your life. And I think people are excited and passionate about things that have helped them.
Well, I think you're humbled by the process maybe too. So you realize that it's not like a clear, it's not like nothing's a guarantee. Everything is hard. Doesn't matter where, I heard someone say companies are I think it's Swiss cheese or whatever, the cheese that's got holes in it.
Oh, yeah.
But it's the holes that you can't see from the outside, so I don't know which cheese that is. But they're like, every company is like Swiss cheese.
We're more like a loaf of bread that's got all those holes inside.
I think you used this exact analogy previously. But yeah, everything looks good.
But you're pissed when you find out what's inside.
But No, but if you think about it, every single person that you're close with, when you chat to them and talk about their work, 9 times out of 10, they're like, oh yeah, I know it's like that. But then there's this. Like every single mate of mine that I'm close to, that I'm having conversations with regularly, have work problems. Yet we always internalize or think that it's like, oh man, fuck, everywhere I go, there's always issues. There's fucking issues everywhere.
Very much so. See him every morning in Abbotsford. People struggling. I think that is one of the other things about meditation is that there is a version of empathy that you gain that you then realize that when you realize how much you're struggling, as soon as you start thinking, as soon as you start becoming more self-aware about the suffering you are in, you realize how much suffering everyone else is having.
Yeah.
And everyone's swimming in it. And it is so true. It is so true. And then that is a way of going, oh, I'm in trouble. Like maybe I should fucking dial back my emotion on how I'm reacting to this fuckhead, which I feel in the moment, but they're not really a fuckhead. They're just in their head too.
Yeah.
And so
everyone's reacting and responding. And then you put the COVID stuff on it and you see that most people aren't being their best versions right now.
Yeah.
Like, don't you think that? Like, I think about like road rage. I see it on the roads walking in. Like, there's a lot of people who are sort of at their ends wits or whatever the fuck you say. Wits end?
Wits end. Yeah.
Little dyslexic.
I'd like to know what that means.
I can look it up for you.
At your wits end.
Wits end, what do you think?
Wits, like your wits about you. You've got your wits about you, your senses at your wits end. You're fucking blown up. Your senses are in overload. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, it means, it's completely puzzled and perplexed, not knowing what to do. For example, I've tried every possible source without success, but where does it actually come from? That's what I'm curious about.
Not far off.
Yeah, I can't see. I've got my laptop here now, so I can
It
search
is good.
stuff.
I decided to bring nothing today, as
That's
in
good.
just nothing.
We
Anyway.
had someone knock at the door. Who was it, Jess? Someone's wanting to take a photo.
Oh yeah,
of
so there's a big mural in our street, and I saw the guy who was on the mural.
Oh, really?
Standing at the bottom of the mural.
Oh, that's cool.
Having a photo with the mural. Probably his Facebook photo.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, just fucking upgrade.
What's the
big face?
Yeah, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
And then so he wanted the car moved to get a clear shot?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that what happened?
Who knows?
Okay.
But I don't think we can help him. Maybe he thought it was our car that was in front of the mural.
I mean, but whenever I hear the doorbell ring, at the moment, it's all about packages.
We have a few good packages.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, I mean, have you ever had a time in your life where you've got so many packages on the go that you forget what's coming?
No.
Well,
Never.
Yeah. So we've got like a few samples of merch, upcoming merch and all that sort of thing, and they all come separately. And so I'm getting so many messages. The thing I hate the most, Ozpost sending a message saying your package is coming today. Don't know which package, what package.
No, I see what
Do
you
I
mean.
get excited? Do I not get excited? And then you
Just get excited that it hasn't been lost in the mail.
Yeah.
That's
No,
probably
true.
the best version. I'm surprised more shit doesn't go missing in the mail.
You set up security cameras from Trev. Trev hooked us up with
Mate.
heaps of great stuff.
Thank you, Trev. Got one going. Can't get the other one working.
I'll help you with
Reset
that.
button.
It's not
if
working.
you can, maybe you've got magic fingers, but I'm driving that metal into the reset hole, and it's not resetting.
Are you
Maybe it's
holding
just a
it? Are
problem.
you powering it up while doing it?
Yeah,
with the
doing it
USB
all.
on. Okay.
It's foolproof, I think. Like it really is, and I'm either a fool or it's broken.
And so where have you've set one of the cameras up?
Yeah, I've got to actually fix them into the wall, but it is interesting having cameras at your house.
Do you find that you look at them a lot, or what's the like? Do you feel safer?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, kind of. But then it's just, we've talked about this before. It's like, does it just bring more alertness to issues? And it's like when you think about seeing a red car, you're going to see a shitload of them. Am I going to see more crime?
Yeah.
Hopefully I don't. But you know, maybe. At least I have it on camera. I mean, that is the byproduct of it.
When you caught up with mates at the end of the year or the start of this year, were the conversations different? Because I feel like there is a little bit of the end of the year. It's like, like we were all having the same conversations over and over and over again. Do you slip back into that stuff, or have you found other things to fucking talk about?
I mean, COVID chat is the new weather chat. No one talks about the weather anymore.
Yeah.
It was always, mate, fucking hot week. Wow. You know, it's just COVID. But no, the people that I hadn't seen in a while, which was a lot of people because everyone was just at home in their bubble, chatting about what they did in that time. But then, I mean, it goes pretty quick. It depends on what kind of mate they are. like someone I've known for 20 years, and we just I don't know. It doesn't even register what we talk about. We're just talking shit and connect, and being around each other is all we need.
Have you noticed the transition going from, COVID Tommy to like ISO Tommy, where
is this about my appearance?
No, to being out and about. Have you learnt anything about, like, so for instance, it's like when Melbourne opened up, everyone was social for like the first week or two. Like that was a big thing. And then it like slowly sort of adapted or whatever.
There's still a lot of people being social, dude. Still
do you feel like you're doing everything every weekend, doing something?
I have been, but even going, like I've become more lazy with my mask situation. Like I don't have one in my pocket. I used to have one, but like
I don't know, like what's the deal now? When do you even have to? Officeworks, you need to.
Supermarkets, like places like Officeworks. I went into Officeworks without one. I feel a bit naughty. Jess and I went for a walk to the supermarket. Actually, we were just going for a walk, and then we were like, let's go to the supermarket. And then we both didn't have masks. And there's a bit of power about it, like people don't want to come near you. So, but anyway, it's at the end, like Melbourne's had 28 days of zero local transmission. Which I think is good. Sounds good.
And I empathize when I listen to podcasts that are recorded in different parts of the world.
Dude,
you just hearing people like just even struggling to do interviews and stuff. Like you just see the sort of people are drained.
Oh, dude, I think about we need to register our energy based on our energy. We need to. What will determine if we take another break is if both of us are having eye twitches at the same time. Yeah. Like my eyes haven't been twitching. Yeah, remember how much twitching we have?
Yeah, that was true.
So tired, dude. We had Twitch City.
Well, we were doing two. For context, our video production business, basically we were doing pre-production, but it grinded to a halt from the perspective of actually filming.
They stopped our industry from operating, literally in the fine print.
Yeah.
Video production, no. Computer says no.
Yeah, and so if we think about, like, if we count the amount of shoots that we did last year,
dude,
it would have been less than like 10 filming days for the entire year,
dude.
And so things like JobKeeper and stuff became so important, and we were lucky that we could do this.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but then you see how we're doing the thing we enjoy doing. Doing the thing you enjoy doing, you can still burn out.
Well, I also think the other thing is doing the thing that you love doing without having the sustainable business model is still exhausting. If you are essentially it never feels as good as making it work, right? It's like getting funding from a VC or an angel investor, right? You get money, that's just a runway. But there's a point where the runway ends. And by the time the runway ends, you need to be flying. And if you're not flying, you're going straight through the barricade.
Brick wall.
Yeah. And so I think that's the thing, is it's like that was a temporary solution. And that's why when you read the headlines and you read the news, it's like, what's going to come from all of this? Because, we've had this moment in time where we have had that support. But it's, like if we think about it from a shoot's perspective, the way that production companies work, the way that you get more video production work is by doing video production work. So there's been this weird time where it's like you don't have huge amounts of recent work to show because you haven't fucking done much for an entire year.
I mean, Josh Frydenberg was our angel investor.
Yeah.
And then he said, no more.
Yeah.
We're not giving you more cash.
So what's the deal? So I guess around Australia, all open. So WA is just finishing off their lockdown
on Friday.
But Sydney, Brisbane, all of that sort of thing.
I just spoke to my friend in Sydney, and he said he called me. He said, "Where are you?" He said, "On the ED." I'm lucky I lived in Sydney because I wouldn't have known. Eastern Distributor, which is a CUNT of a road in the morning or any time, like it can have a lot of traffic on it. And he was on the way to work in his car. Traffic. It seems like that's back to just being, shitty traffic.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I think that the next thing will be, I'm very curious to see about Easter because it seems like everyone's got big plans for Easter. Don't you think?
that's what I said to him. He said, when are you coming to Sydney? I said, mate, Easter's probably the next available time.
Yeah.
Like, you get like 4 days or something. It's worth coming there considering. And we just said considering COVID.
It's going to be hectic.
Well, we thought that in the Christmas period. And then it shut itself. But
no, but think about everyone who was going to do something during Christmas.
I'm not flying. I'm driving. It's much easier for a family. You're in your little
just
cabin.
in general, like I just think like cafes, like people out and about. Like surely
this is the empathy for the businesses. Like I mentioned this at the start of the year. We went to Hillsville, and then we went to I think it's the town of Hillsville. Oh, dude. The people were slammed. The cafes, the pubs, the bar, like booked out. Like, but you see the pressure it puts people under. Like,
they haven't fucking worked properly for months, and so you go from having hardly any work, just being at home playing PlayStation, or if you're fucking the business owner trying to work out how you're going to keep your business, and then you have the other problem, which is like, and the fucked up bit is, even if they're busy, they're probably just paying the debts down that they incurred through all the lease stuff that they have to pay back.
Oh man, a mate of mine has a gym and he said they're $300K behind. But yeah, there is. It sucks. It sucks that at end of the year. We even got into. So you come out the back of the lockdown, and then you're trying to ramp up what the business once was. And then all of a sudden you actually are kind of busy, like these people that are still in it. They're just flat out. I mean, we had a busy without a break. We had a busy end of the year, which you see how coming off, like you're saying, the start of the year, or when you enter into that COVID lockdown time, everything shifts. And so the strategies are different start of the year. Then you're all of a sudden in the new normal, which is a silly term, but was the new normal, which is after, COVID's coming off the back of COVID. You can't you can't not remember the time of COVID. And so it's like embedded in your mind. And then you start your business again. And then that's how we got burnt out at the end of last year, was doing.
You just have to say yes, because you just don't, like if a client's like, hey, can you do this shoot? You're like they've been waiting for a long time to be able to do it. So then it becomes that game of like, bring everything forward as soon as you can do it. Because the other thing too is like, especially in that time, in that sort of November period, we didn't know, like we didn't know how long things would stay open for, when things would shut down. Even if you think about December, there's, there's border closures and all of that sort of thing. And so, yeah, it feels like, December, January's always been interesting from a video production perspective, because people are still getting into it. They're finishing early. They're getting back. They're trying to work out budgets.
Forced closures of businesses. Like it's the time that in Australia, because it's summer as well. It's like Americans. They're not a good comparison for annual leave, but but you see, like it is all operating the winter month. Here it is really a lot of people just take their foot off the gas. Yeah, but it was a funny time last year because
we're already
people,
in Feb. Just a reminder, everyone. Yeah, it's Feb 3.
I feel much more optimistic about the future off the back of like December, January. In that time, it was like, God, are we just like, you have to persevere, have to push forward, even if it closes again. Yeah, and it hasn't, and so I'm of the feeling that. We haven't closed again, so it's feeling a bit better. Even that December period where it got a bit dicey, but we had 2 lockdowns last year. People are listening this morning. One place is on their 3rd COVID wave. They were saying it's like, which just is a clusterfuck for everybody, health and businesses. Dude. Anyway,
yeah, it feels good, and I think like doing less shows, like it's consolidation. Yeah. It's simplifying, making things so it's like we don't have that burnout, and we've got a great business, which means we can keep doing the show where you guys don't have to pay anything. Unless you do want to pay us.
I mean, you can. Our PayPal.
Hi at thedailytalkshow.com.
is where you send cash to the PayPal. I mean, we asked before, send cash and people were.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we got a lot of different currencies. Thank you, Sean, for your email. Thank you, Crystal, for the comment as well. Olivia, always sending great emails.
We appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.
See you guys.